Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm up here attempting to do some gold prospecting and hoping to find some good stuff. I've actually been to this spot before, however, where I actually wanted to go is no longer accessible. So this is an area that I've been to before. It has been quite a few years, probably about 4-ish or more years since I've been up here, and I was hoping to make it a lot further up the mountains to an area where I've been to before, where there was some breccia veins and a little bit of gold in the streams. However, I didn't make it very far before I found, well, I stumbled across a sign. It is now private property, and it specifically says no prospecting or metal detecting. So, kind of a bummer. So now I'm somewhere else below where that sign is at, so I should be outside of the range, which that cuts off a good majority of the land I was hoping to explore today. So gotta find something else to do. There is a little bit of a stream below me, so I'm gonna go down there. Now I am in an area historically that has been heavily worked, so there's been historic gold found here back in the 1880s, I think it was. There's also been some dredging on one of the rivers around here, and I might stop at some of the dredge piles and see if I can find some quartz veins, because I have an idea that some of those veins that the dredge dumped might actually have gold from the sources. But what I mean is that there's even some more recent activity. It looks like someone's old screen that's fallen apart here. There's actually a big old pit hole right there that somebody dug into the embankment. So this has already been pretty much worked, so I'm just here for anything that might remain, which might be not much of anything. So I'm not sure quite what I'm gonna do now. I guess I'll metal detect around. I'm sure I'll find lots of trash because there's bits of metal and screens just lying about. Maybe I'll look to see if there's any cool rock samples that I could potentially take back as either a cool sample, put on my shelf, or crush it up. Alright, so I started off using the metal detector. There's a really strong signal right there. I'm not sure what it's gonna be. It's probably just trash. Pretty rocky in here too. All right, well, whatever it is, oh, there it is. Screwdriver. I got to get better at using this gold bug. I've hardly used it. I believe there's different sounding tones depending on what you're getting. There's a target here. Not sure what it's going to be. See if there's any more. Really hard rock here. Could be a whole bunch of hot rocks in here, possibly. Alright, I'm going to pan to see what this stuff is. Probably gonna be a whole lot of nothing, but let's find out. Yep, nothing there. So something else I found, this might be coming back with me to the crusher. I believe this is a breccia right here. Quartz vein breccia. It's pretty heavy. That's what you'd be wanting to look for, so I might take that as a crush sample. Alright, I'm going to head out of this area because there's not really much to do, I don't think. So I am taking that breccia, put it in my little bag here. I got this little sack that helps protect the inside of my pack from getting extra dirty. And yeah, maybe we'll take that back, crush it up. I'm gonna work my way back out of here and see what else I can find. Now that I'm out of the woods, I thought I'd show you this real quick. So this is a piece of quartz that I found in one of the dredge piles, and this is all the same piece. I just was able to hit it with my hammer and break it open. You can see all the grays there appear to be some kind of sulfide, metallic sulfide. You can see it all right there, kind of turning the clay. I don't know why my camera is struggling so much to focus, but this is basically what it looks like on the outside. And if you look, you can see there's some banding, some black banding, which around this area is usually good. And then there's this piece right here. You can see that black banding going through, and then all the oxidation, as well as that gray material that just came off on my finger there. Alright, well, the area I was going to also stop at is also looks to be claimed up. Speaking of claims, it looks like there might be one area that's actually an active claim. It looked like there were some people working it as I drove by. So, yeah, things have definitely changed in the last just few years since last time I was up here, which is kind of crazy. But I guess nothing really stays the same. So, I think there's not really much more I can do that I can think of around here. So I'm going to head on back, and then next clip, we'll throw a couple of those pieces of quartz in the crusher, crush it down, see if there's any gold in that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead now and crush up that first sample, which was a big old chunk of quartz out of the dredge pile. I've already hammered it up in hopefully small enough pieces for the rock crusher. So this is the full setup. I got a vacuum system so there's no dust, and it'll put everything hopefully nice into the bucket there. Through the inlet tube, everything's all tightened and ready to go. So I'm going to fire it up and start running quartz through it. Let it warm up. See what the damage is here. All right, now I'll vacuum out all that finer material. Results of that crush. As you can see, a lot of bigger particles got through, and that's because some of those bigger rocks I was throwing in was really pushing the screen's limit, and it kind of beat up the screen and bent it, allowing enough open space for some of those bigger rocks to get through, but whatever. As you can see, a good majority of it is a nice powder. Alright, so I lost my audio for some reason right here, so obviously began to feed all the material into the gold cube. Of course, once I ran through all the material, I stopped and looked at the first tray to see if I could spot anything, and of course, no surprise there was nothing immediately visible in the tray at all, so then I cleaned the first tray. Alright, so let's look at the contents of the first tray here. I already picked out all the big quartz, so we'll see what's in this. Still lots of quartz sand, of course. A lot of quartz sand. And there comes the heavies, I can see. It's hard to do this with the tripod in the way. But I can get some bigger rocks out here. There we go. There's something heavy right there, big and heavy. Probably a bit of the filtration screen, I would imagine. It's quite a glare in here, unfortunately. Let's see if I can get rid of that a little bit. But lots of really heavies. But lots of heavies. And then these little BBs of metal, I'm guessing, is from my crusher. Doubt there would be anything like that in the rock, so probably pieces of my filtration screen that got all beat up, especially if it's magnetic. But no visible gold from what I can tell. Alright, so I just cleaned up all the trays. Unfortunately, no gold whatsoever. Lots of metallic heavies, so I believe a lot of that is from my actual rock crusher. So nothing in the river dredge sample. Alright, so this is the next rock to be crushed up. Luckily this one crumbles really easily, so I should be able to just break it up with my hammer into smaller pieces. It literally is just falling apart. I believe this is some kind of quartz breccia. There's lots of oxides here. Looks like there's little pieces of rock and quartz. It's honestly hard to tell exactly what's happening, but I'm pretty certain this is some kind of breccia. You can see it is just falling apart. So the crusher should have, hopefully, no issue with this piece here. There may have been some oxides or sulfides maybe weathering out of this. I'm not sure. But I have better hopes for this sample than the last one. Alright, so I got it all broken up. It's ready to be crushed in the crusher. I noticed there were some really bright, I'm guessing some kind of oxidized clay minerals in here. So hopefully this will maybe have some gold. I'm not sure what all that really is, but it's interesting material. There's some cool textures on it. But this is for sure some kind of fault breccia. You can see there's pulverized bits of quartz, heavily oxidized. So I'm guessing it was some kind of mineral-rich fluid pulsing through the fractured fault breccia whenever this ruptured. You can see all the little bits of quartz in there, and then all the gaps seem to be filled with some kind of mineral. I'm going to guess some kind of sulfide, but the sulfides have oxidized out. You can see right there, there's a good chunk of rock, another chunk of rock, and then the gap in between basically became sulfides. So if this doesn't have gold, I don't know if anything else will. So I'm hoping at least there will be some visible gold. Here's another quick sample look before I destroy it. And then this one's also pretty bright. You can see the textures on that. Alright, just like that, she's all crushed up. Now a lot of that ended up being harder than I thought it was going to be. So, let's see how the screen held up. I really need to figure out how to get this screen better. First, I need to get the right size of perforated steel, which is perforated steel with 1/8 inch holes, but nobody sells it around here, so I'm going to probably order it online. The screen design on this isn't the best anyways, so I wish I could have thought ahead when I designed this thing, but it's too late now. I gotta learn to live with it or somehow improve it in the future, but for the meantime, this thing is doing a-okay. We'll see how much dust comes out of here the moment I take this lid off. And that's been happening because there's a ledge here, so a lot of the rock just gets jammed right up against here, and it doesn't fully get crushed. So, but I also need to get that little piece of metal out in the back because it does hold up a lot of material. But the screen is definitely getting pounded to the left there, or to the right there, so definitely needs some adjustment in the future. But I'm going to vacuum this out now. There's a big gaping hole right there, so I'm imagining a lot of material got through. There's material, definitely some gravel in there for sure. I'm not sure if I'm setting this up right or if it's just because it's a cheap dust collection system, but there's a ton of orange powder making it into the shop vac, as you can see there. So, don't know how efficient this thing's doing. Maybe it's sucking up all my gold. Alright, gold cubes all ready for this nice orange slurry of a mess. And we'll see if there's any gold to be had in this stuff. I'd definitely say there's clays in there. Oh, and something's going on. I got a mess going on down below. Kind of the same process. Wow, that's a lot of clay. There's definitely clays in this. I think I'm gonna have to feed it a little slower. But yeah, kind of the same thing. I'm just gonna scoop this stuff in, and you guys probably don't need to see the whole process here. So I'm gonna slowly feed this clay mess. You can see it's pretty thick clay, lots of oxides too. And for whatever reason, I'm not getting even flow out the bottom, even though this thing's completely level. Hopefully this doesn't overload the box. Oh man, there's a whole bunch down in there still. Same thing, I always like to let it run for just a moment or two longer to see if anything else works its way down. This water's so dirty. In the future, I'm definitely gonna have to make a better system for this thing, get some better tubs, and really get a more efficient setup in the future. But in a pinch, this works. Lots and lots of clay. And I'm not sure why, but the gold cube likes to leak up top here, and it always deposits just silts and clays right up top there for whatever reason. But I'd definitely say there's some iron in this stuff. All right, let's take a look at this first tray. Definitely lots of pebbles and no chunky gold. All right, so all three sections of the gold cube have been cleaned out, and I decided to go ahead and screen this, and that's all the big particles that made it through the crusher, essentially, which running it with a bad screen, I guess, is not too bad. I mean, that's a massive chunk. I'm guessing it only made it through because of its shape. But there we go. Should be nice and classified. And we'll set that aside. Alright, so no more wireless microphone. The battery died. Been having lots of audio issues, so hopefully, I don't know how much you heard. I'll have to review the footage, but I've been panning a little too fast. I gotta get better at going a little slower in case if there is gold in here and if it's really fine gold. Some nice gentle washes essentially. Move it over the riffles there. I'm starting to see some darker material. Bring it on back. And maybe one more before I do a final swirl. Alright, I think that'll do it. Alright, let's bring it back and do a swirl of the material. I don't know if there's going to be any sulfides in this. There'll probably be lots of metal from my crusher. Lots of magnetics. I can already see some popping up on the side there. Pretty sandy. I don't know if you can see, there's a really dark band right up here. I'm going to guess that's all magnetics from the crusher. It's pretty metallic gray. There's a lot of it. I don't know if that's all from my crusher. I'm going to hope not. So let's hope that's all black sand. There's a lot of shop glare, but that's all really dark material. Well, after panning it all out, just as I expected, a whole bunch of metal, but no gold, which is a little bit disappointing. Hardly any black sands from what I could tell, like actual heavy mineral black sands instead of metal from my crusher. This is a bit more metal than I'm used to seeing, so I believe it's because it's my screen falling apart. Not sure where the extra wear and tear could be coming from, but no gold in that sample, or any of those samples. So anyways, this will do it for today. Kind of a slow day of prospecting and then running those two samples through, and it was a bust for both samples. Kind of disappointing, but I know there's visible gold to be had out of samples from that general region, as well as like good chunky gold that can be recovered from certain streams still. So hope to get some more prospecting in before the really hard winter sets in, because we've hardly had any snow this year, which is a little scary. So we definitely need some snowpack. There's a lot of exposed mountains still, which means I can still go prospecting if I hurry. So anyways, until next time, I'll see you all later. You all take care.